Yeah. Yeah. When they hear the sound of the drum, they'll be saying, oh Lord, here they come. Yeah, here we come. Here we come. Here we come. Here we come. And when you hear the sound of the drum, we'll be saying, here we come. Yeah, here we come. Hey, here we come. Here we come. Here we come. Yeah, here we come. Hey, here we come. Hey, here we come. Here we come.
All right, welcome guys. It's Rick Knockby here, and today's the day, Studio One version 4. So I just want you to know how hard it's been for me to keep this day a secret, because of course I've been knowing about it for a long time, and this is something that our team in Hamburg and also in Baton Rouge have been waiting for a long time. So it's finally here, and today you're going to hear from tons of our artists, producers, engineers from all over the world who have been using Studio One version 4, helping us with the beta test over the past couple of months. And you know, you're also going to have a chance at the end of the webcast, if you're a member of our YouTube channel, we're going to be posting tons of new videos. So what you're going to see today is just a very small portion of what Studio One version 4 really is about. So first of all, we're going to go to the UK. So James Reynolds is an artist, producer, engineer in the UK, and he's going to tell you about some of the new features. Check it out.
My name's James Reynolds. People in the industry might know me as James F. Reynolds because I needed to put the F there because there was another James Reynolds prior to myself. Last week I was working on some K-pop stuff for a band called BTS. The week before that was Paloma Faith. More recently Gorgon City, an Indian act, and yeah, so different musics, which I love. You know, I love the diversity of it. I love the challenge of mixing different types of records. Pattern mode in Studio One 4 is a really handy new feature. It's a very quick way of putting drums together and allows you to create patterns and then make copies of those patterns, edit them slightly, and then just drop the different patterns in. So if you're in a songwriting situation, it's just very quick. To have it built into the sequencer is absolutely brilliant. It's like having a 909 on the timeline. It's just fantastic. And you know, whether you're making trap beats or house records, we all still use the 909 a lot. And so getting a beat together is very quick. Impact's had a big overhaul. It's become even more user-friendly. The interface is fantastic, very clear and easy to use. And I'll now actually be starting to build my sound libraries with Impact XL because it's so quick. It has a drag and drop feature, so you can take a folder full of snares, for example, your favorite snares, and if you hold shift and drag them on, it will just put them across all of the different pads ready to use, which you can then sync up if you've got a drum pad or whatever. It also has a very clever slice feature, which if you have a loop that you like but you want to sort of dig into that loop and use different parts of it on your pad, you can take that loop, hold shift, it will splice up that loop, so you've got all the different sections to then very quickly dig in and use various beats that you want out of that loop individually. Another feature that was requested by quite a few Studio One users was to have AF import. It allows you to drag and drop a saved session from a Pro Tools user straight into Studio One. So if they've left the stems within the Pro Tools session and that they haven't been chopped all from bar zero, it means you can just drag the AAF file in and you're ready to go. You know where all the files are. And actually this works across the board, so you can do the same with Logic and Cubase. So it makes it a very handy feature to have, especially as a mixer when you're requesting, you get sent stems and they've left them all in a Pro Tools session. And also for people that are moving from Pro Tools to Studio One, it allows them to dip into their old back catalogue very quickly. Of course, if I'm working with someone who's not in Studio One but in Pro Tools, I can then save the session as an AAF and send it to them, and then they're ready to go on their side as well. So it's a two-way street. Their whole goal is to make everything as intuitive as possible, as quick as possible. When I was preparing the session yesterday with my assistant for the demonstration, I created a song in half an hour. It's so quick. My reason for moving to Studio One was how everything is organized, being able to split channels within the channel, so it's all very tidy, very easy to consume, and makes your life, or my life as a mixer, much easier and therefore more enjoyable.
All right, guys, we're back, and this is Richard Gaspard, our new product specialist. So one of the features that we've had a lot of requests from users over the years, especially guys that are coming from other DAWs or working with other people in other DAWs, is AAF capability. So kind of tell us a little bit about what does that mean? What is AAF, and how do we implement it in Studio One version 4?
So AAF is kind of an open format export and import file type where you can ship files from a DAW or a video editor into another DAW and back and forth, so that if you've made cuts, if you have arranged your files in such a way where everything doesn't just start at zero and you have all of this data, you can actually ship that between your DAWs and not lose your place of where you are in your session.
Yeah, that actually is pretty cool, because for many years, I mean, I have friends that work in other DAWs, and I've always had to tell them when they wanted me to mix something, oh well, go ahead and give me straight wave files from the first bar. Yeah. But now, if you're using Logic or Pro Tools or any other DAW that supports AAF, all you have to do is export out an AAF version of the song.
Right.
And so so now you've actually gotten something from Pro Tools that you're going to import into Studio One, right?
Yeah, so here we are on the main start page. So the way we do that is we go to File, Open, and I have an AAF file here that I grabbed for this from another DAW. And there it is. You double click it, and it opens up in Studio One, and you can see there are all of the files all chunked up.
Yeah, so there's cuts, and and if there was any kind of edits, they're basically still there, right?
Right.
That's awesome.
And so for you guys who do audio for video, which is the main thing that I do as a freelancer, we didn't leave those guys out as well. This is something that I pulled from Premiere. And so the same thing. This is some loops that were cut here, and you can see there we have everything that was pulled from a Premiere session.
So another feature that a lot of users have asked for, and this is one of the top-rated feature requests on answers.personas.com, has been what Pro Tools calls import session data. So now we have import song data in Studio One. So show us how that works.
All right, so when you're in just a song and you want to pull that data over, we just go right here to our song menu, song, import song data.
You're going to pick the song that you want to get the data from, right?
Correct. You double click the actual .song file, the Studio One .song file, and it opens up this window where I can choose all of the tracks to import, the events, the layers, the automation. I can copy the files into this actual song folder so that everything is together. And then we also have some just some console options, volume, pan, inserts, and sends. So anything that was a part of that other session, we can bring into this session.
That's awesome. Okay, so next we're going to hear from an amazing teacher and probably one of the most knowledgeable Studio One guys that I know, Marcus Huskins. Let's check it out.
What's up, guys? My name is Marcus Huskins, and thank you for joining me. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at one of the new features added in Studio One version 4, and that is the chord track. All right, so let's take a look at the chord track. Now, first off, in order to view the chord track, you just have to click this little icon in the top here. And as you'll see over here, we now have this global track up top, which is essentially a harmonic roadmap of your entire song at any given point in duration. Just before we get too involved in things over here, I want to take a moment to kind of break this down and help everyone understand this a little bit better. And in order to do that, I'm actually going to take a look at the tempo track. Now, you might be asking, why are we taking a look at the tempo track? Well, essentially, because the theory or the philosophy of the way that the chord track works is actually quite similar to the tempo track, being that 1, it's a global track, and 2, it has the ability to affect all of the tracks in your song simultaneously depending on how things are set up. So, for example, if we take a look at this song over here, which has a BPM of 68, and we take a look at each one of these tracks, you'll notice that A, the track is set to a time stretch mode, and B, the audio events themselves have a file tempo that's embedded into them. Now, what this means is that any adjustments I make to my tempo track, in this case being at 68 BPM, because all of these audio events have the file tempo information, they are essentially going to follow. So I could, for example, take this, change my BPM to 77. We see this little icon that's indicating that there's some type of processing happening here. And of course, as expected, they will follow.
16 years later.
And of course, I can bring this back to 68, and we're back to where we started.
16 years later.
So if we take this same philosophy and apply it to the chord track, then we can really understand what's happening. So let's go ahead, let's just hide our tempo track for a moment over here. Now let's go ahead and let's bring in our chord track. Now, one thing to note about the chord track is it functions very similar to, for example, the arranger track, in that we can draw in different sections over here. We can do the same thing with the chord track. I can double click and I can change the chords that I want to enter. I could change them to minor. I could change the intervals, etc., etc. Now we can also go to the previous chords and the next chords as well. And another thing that we can do is if you have a controller hooked up to your system, I could, for example, navigate over here and I could just simply play in a chord on my controller. So let's activate the instrument input. And I'm just going to play a C major or a D minor. And we can enter our chords directly that way. Okay, so now, having said that, let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail and see how we can make use of it. Now, one thing to note right off the bat is that we have this follow on off mode. And essentially what this allows us to do is enable or disable our chord track altogether. Now, another thing to point out is that the chord track is entirely non-destructive, meaning that it changes your audio and your instrument parts, but it doesn't do it in a destructive way. And you can revert back at any point in time to your previous version. So let's go ahead, let's just turn this off for a moment and let's talk about some settings. Now, in the same way that we set up a time stretch mode for anything to do with tempo following on a track by track basis, we have 2 new settings in the inspector. If you can't see that, just make sure that you click this eye over here or use the F4 shortcut. We can see that we have these 2 new modes over here, follow chords and tune mode. Now, for the duration of this video, I'm going to leave follow chords set for the most part to parallel, and the tune mode, this really has to do with the different type of source material that you're working with on your audio tracks. And for this case, I'm just going to leave it set to default. And in terms of follow chords, we have different ways in which the chord track can interact with each of our tracks. Let's go ahead and leave this set to parallel for now, but I do recommend experimenting with these different options. So essentially what this means is that in the same way that we can make tempo changes to our tracks and have them follow if Studio One is set up to do that, we can also do that on a track-by-track basis. Now, this works with audio events and note data that's residing on instrument parts. Now, the thing to point out here is that in order for this to work, in the same way that we had to have a source file tempo embedded in the audio events so that they know how to follow a tempo track, we also need to have any chords embedded into the audio events so that they can properly follow the chord track. Now, how do we do this? Well, it's quite simple. For example, we could simply take this over here, head over to our audio menu, and I could go to Detect Chords. Now, once that happens, you'll notice that it's gone ahead and it's done a chord detection. Now, it's worth mentioning that we don't actually have to detect the chords on the instrument parts because Studio One has access to the note data that's residing on these instrument parts. Studio One will already have a pretty good idea of what the chords are. But with respect to audio parts, we have to go ahead and detect those chords. Now, once you've detected those chords, you'll notice that we have this information here on the bottom. If you're not seeing this, we just need to head over to our options and make sure that this option here, Show Chords on Events, is enabled. You notice when that's enabled, we can see all the chords. So let's go ahead here. I'm going to double click and let's open this in our music editor. And you'll notice that we have the same icon for chords available in the music editor. Now, in addition to that, we also have the ability to select these chords and directly edit them directly from within the music editor as well. So I could, for example, make any changes over here. And also, we could bring up the chord selector directly from the music editor as well. Now, one thing to note about chord detection is that you really want to go through and make sure that the chord detection that's happened has been done properly. Now, ideally, I want all of my chords to fall on a downbeat of each measure over here, so that they're sitting properly against the global chord track. Now, another thing to note is that once you've detected chords, you have the ability to head over here and I can extract these chords to the chord track. So in terms of working with a piece of music that comes in, you could do a chord detection, edit them to make sure that they're all sitting on the proper downbeats, etc. That would be doing something like this. And then once you're happy with those results, simply by right-clicking any audio event, we can extract to the chord track. Now, I've already gone ahead and done this, so I'm not going to do that. So let's go ahead and remove these chords for a second. Now, another thing to point out is the difference between things like, for example, lead vocals and any harmonies and an instrumental mixdown of your track. So for example, it's very easy for Studio One to determine what the chords are in this music reference file. Let's go ahead and play this. We have clear downbeats on all of these bars, which are indicating the chord changes. But with respect to something like a lead vocal, for example, if you're listening to this in isolation, and Studio One is analyzing this in isolation, it's pretty difficult to determine what the chords would be.
16 years later in this young lady.
So the best workflow when working with audio is to essentially export a mixdown of your instrumental and then simply detect the chords based on that mixdown. Now, once you've done that, and once you've cleaned up those chords using the music editor, like we know we can do right over here, we can simply send those chords to the chord track by selecting this, extract to chord track, and then once the chord track has the chords that match our song, then if we wanted to embed these chords into any audio event, it's just a matter of clicking audio and applying chords from chord track. So that's using the chord track in Studio One version 4. Having the ability to non-destructively adjust any audio or instrument track and have it follow is definitely something that opens up the doorways to having limitless creative potential. I hope you guys got something from this video. Again, my name is Marcus Huskins, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
All right, so Marcus did a really good job of showing sort of the setup of how you'll set your song up to be manipulated by the chord track. So why don't you show us what you can do now that we've basically established the chords of the song and everything's ready to go.
Right, so we have our song here, and you can see we've got our chords all lined out. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what it sounds like in its current form.
16 years later in this young lady, speaking to a crowd who needed to see. She tried and tried, but they rolled their eyes. One day you'll know the meaning of making a choice. She's speaking from her heart, but using her voice. Tears fill her eyes.
All right, right, so that's a pretty basic arrangement there. So what if we came in and we wanted to start playing with how these chords are interacting? And let's just go and change the sound of this A and make it an A minor, which will really change the sound of that 5 chord in the key of D. And let's just change this E minor to an E. So that's a 2 chord in the key of D, and it's really going to give you a whole different flavor of what this is going to sound like as an arrangement. So let's take a listen to that.
16 years later, in this young lady speaking to a crowd who needed to see, she tried and tried, but they rolled their eyes. One day you'll know the meaning of making a choice. She's speaking from her heart, but using her voice. Tears fill her eyes.
That's just amazing. Holy cow. So
Yeah.
so you're telling me not only did we change the MIDI tracks, which other DAWs do that, but all of the audio, including chord instruments like that acoustic guitar, just changed from major to minor.
Right. So
That's crazy.
if I solo the background vocals and this music bed, you can hear, if I play it from right here, you will hear that these G's are now G sharp.
Tears fill her eyes.
And if I go back to the E minor, those G sharps are now G's again.
Her voice, tears fill her eyes.
So pretty amazing stuff there.
Pretty amazing. Good Lord. So this is going to be an amazing tool for songwriters, for arrangers, basically any type of, you're in that place in that song that you're wanting to experiment and you want to see what are the possibilities. I mean, the chord track is going to really, really change the way that we arrange music.
That's true. And so to take it a step further, we can come here and for our users who use Notion, we can take, I created this little synth part, and if I solo it, you can hear it's just a simple little stringy type line. But if I wanted to have an actual string player play this, string players aren't used to playing things by ear. They want written music.
That's
no
right.
big deal. If I've got Notion, if I highlight this and I come over here and go song, send to Notion, with the latest version of Notion, I can send that note data to selected tracks and create a lead sheet. And when I click send, it's going to export it to Notion, and notice that A minor
Wow.
changed all of my C's to C naturals, and it changed the G in the E chord to a G sharp.
Oh my gosh. So now we just print this out, hand it to your string player, and
Right.
you're done.
They've got the chords above the staff where they can practice with a piano or a keyboard or a guitar player, and they can practice their string line, and then we've got the written notes for them.
That's amazing. Holy cow. Okay, so that's an awesome feature. So, if you liked what you saw, this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg, because we have full-length videos from Marcus, and also Richard is going to be creating some more tutorials on how you can use these tools. So check it out. If you're not subscribed already to our YouTube channel, find us on YouTube and definitely sign up for it, because we have a lot of really great content coming for Studio One version 4.
My name is Donald Johnson. I'm the CEO of MVP Loops, co-owner, co-founder. I am a music producer, sound designer. Obviously, we develop software, and I'm also an avid musician. Well, it's an honor to be integrated in the Studio One shop. MVP Loops, as a company, we strive to make incredible products that will make people's music better. The one thing that I love about Personas and Studio One as a whole is their commitment to actually improving the product year after year. They actually listen to their users, and people notice that. And when you have a DAW that kind of lives and breathes and moves with the times, that makes it a lot easier to create great sound and content. In our business, when we're editing and developing tens of thousands of sounds at one time, speed is very important. Also accuracy. And the thing that I really liked about Studio One was that it was sample accurate. When you zoomed all the way in to get to the front to make that perfect cut, so that when someone gets the product and they hit a pad or they hit a key, it's accurate. Studio One delivered that. Another important thing was the drag and drop feature. Before Studio One came along, it was a lot of exporting each individual part, each individual track, which made no sense. So Studio One came along, and they came along with the drag and drop feature, and they were the first in the business to really do it efficiently. And we just gravitated towards it because we knew that it would help us to make our process a lot easier and a lot smoother.
My name is Trevor Lawrence Jr. I'm a drummer and a producer and a songwriter, also a part of the MVP Loops team. I work with Dr. Dre, Herbie Hancock, quite a few other people. Studio One, it's like sonically, it's always been the best to me. And feature-wise, now everything is lined up, especially with the new 4. When you hear that stuff, it's like, yo, this is crazy. How come more people aren't on this, right? And it's like, once you discover it, it's like, this is incredible. It's great to be able to get good results fast. So I'm excited for how I'm going to integrate it now, moving forward. And in one particular situation I work quite a bit, which is with Dr. Dre and Aftermath, my team over there that I work with. There's a whole bunch of us throwing ideas, and it's like, man, those times when it's not fast enough and you forget it, I got to tell you, man, they happen. Getting the results in the creative moment, because that energy can shift very fast. So if you're in that creative moment, especially with some people that are very intense people, I'm excited for how I'm going to integrate it now moving forward because of all these new features.
I'm Nigel Williams, VP of Operations at MVP Loops. I play guitar, studied at Berklee College of Music. In our business, the one that gets the work done is the one that you use, and this one gets the work done. That's just what it is, The new Chord track feature is pretty much the most incredible thing for me. Being a guy that studied music, you hear something, it says A minor, but you don't know what the rest of the chords are going along in the track. A lot of people didn't study, a lot of people use their ears, and they know when things aren't right, but now you can see, oh, okay, cool. And now you can chop it out, flip the sample around, you can take the MIDI out, and create new things, add it to an instrument, and add your own thing to it, which is what you want to do as a producer.
I think the thing that I'm most excited about within Studio One 4 is Impact XT. I've done a whole project with just the first Impact, but now with 8 banks and with the incredible reverse feature, which I really love, which is a lot different than the reverses on a lot of other softwares, because the thing that's unique about the reverse feature in XT is if you hit a sample, you trigger it, and it's going, and you re-trigger the sample, you turn the reverse off, you can get this waving effect where you can really do some really cool, unique sound design stuff. So it can take a sound that would sound pretty ordinary and make it something extraordinary. The other option, which kind of piggybacks off of XT, is the ability to sample into sample 1 and push that audio right into XT. So that makes our jobs a lot easier.
Impact XT, which is incredible because I do a lot of drum related stuff. So having a tool like that with 8 banks, and all the effects and all the parameters that can be manipulated, it allows me to have the freedom to do what I need to do creatively, but the sound of it is superior.
The new Impact is cool because now you have 8 banks, you have 32 choke groups. It also follows the tempo. So if you bring a sample in and your tempo is 120, but you want your thing to be 120, your sample's 90, you hit follow tempo, and it will just play at the tempo of the master track, which is super. You create new things that people haven't heard. It gives you a lot of inspiration, so that's amazing. That's really, really amazing.
Right now in the Persona store, you can find our brand new expansion. It's called Mainstreams. And what we wanted to do, because we have XT now obviously, is we wanted to take kind of like our best content and put it together. So top 40, top 100 content, whether it be trap or more dance EDM type stuff or more soulful or new R&B type stuff, we put all of this in one package. Our business partner, Nigel Williams, has brought in a lot of incredible musicians to produce live content for us, as well as Trevor Lawrence Jr. has designed 192 custom drum sounds. These are not your regular drum sounds. These are the drum sounds that will make a record a record. So the biggest portion of mainstreams that we really look to do was give you sounds and content that will cut through the mix and make your job a lot easier. What we always start with, my mentor, who really taught me to engineer and produce real records in LA, said garbage in, garbage out. With Studio One, the sound algorithm, what you're hearing coming back at you is accurate. So you know what you're hearing, you can trust it. And that's the biggest feature. Then when you compile that with the integration of the hardware, and you compile that with the ability to be able to drag and drop and move very quickly through things that you have to record and get out, because times have changed. So now you have to move very fast, but the quality has to be there. So anyone that's thinking about the switch to Studio One, you won't be disappointed. You have incredible sound quality, you have a litany of great features, and on top of all of that, you can bring your current projects from major DAWs into Studio One. So you can just open up, so you don't have to go through the mass migration that other DAWs would require. So Studio One 4 and the brand new expansion from MVP Loops Mainstreams is available right now at the Persona shop. So if you don't have it, go get it.
All right, we're back, and look who I have. I have
Hey.
Dominic Bazille with me. So, MVP Loops, freaking cool guys, right?
Awesome guys.
So they are like probably one of the most unique, content providers in the fact that,
Love their stuff.
not only do they make great content, but you can tell that these are real,
Yeah.
hardcore, proper musicians
Definitely.
and producers. So huge respect. We really appreciate having their stuff in our shop and them being a part of Studio One. So another great partner for Studio One and for our shop has been the Sample Magic people.
Right.
And
So,
yeah.
Sample Magic has provided some new content for us in the likes of Impact XT. We have 1,000 new one-shots and loops, also 49 kits and 25 music loops.
Right on. So not just electronic content, we also have now some brand new acoustic drum content. So Tom Breckline is one of the greatest session drummers, live drummers. He played with Chick Corea, played with Eric Johnson, Robin Ford, the list goes
Everyone.
on. Everybody. So he actually came down to Baton Rouge and we did a sample library with him. And this is also going to be available with Studio One version 4 in the near future. Going back to some of the stuff that the guys were talking about with Impact XT, why don't you give us a little spin?
Sure, let's do it. All right, so here we are in Studio One 4. I'll drag over my Impact XT there. All right, so empty, but let's go over to our browser, and you'll see that we have a list of all of the new content from Sample Magic. So let's just choose this guy, drag and drop.
Sweet. Nice blue.
Yeah, nice blue, and if you want a different color, just click here.
Nice.
Toggle through all the different colors. Let's try green here. All right, so we have a kit here, and just to kind of reiterate some of the features, you can load all of the 8 banks of 16 pads in Impact XT, so you have a total of 128 pads that you can load with samples and loops.
Nice.
All right, you have different loop options. You can toggle or trigger loops. You can also have them loop and just keep looping, as well as follow the transport and your global tempo. We give you tons of different choke options. Like I said, you can follow the tempo. There's quantization to the beat, so that when you trigger a sample or trigger a loop, it'll lock with the transport that's already running.
Nice.
Then we also have we have additional output options for you. So we expanded on the stereo outputs as well as the mono outputs.
That was a huge request.
That was a huge request. Impact XT is really built for you to just create an entire production within itself, honestly. You can do that with all the options that we now give you. New filters, new filter options. Everything is there for you. You can just create a whole production right in Impact XT.
Cool. So let's talk about one of the new features with Studio One version 4. A lot of people had asked for step sequencing, you know, and so we've come up with a new pattern editor. So
Right, we
let's
call
check
it the
that out.
pattern editor. which is basically a step sequencer. So let's create a new pattern there and double click. And this opens the pattern editor for me. All right, so in its empty state, in its default state, you have 16 steps at a resolution of a 16th note. But we also give you the option of expanding on that. So I'm going to choose 32 steps. All right, and then now we can just simply just start clicking in the grid.
Just drawing in.
Just drawing in notes. Let's see, I can audition my sounds here. So here's a clap. Let's put that there, maybe there. We'll run the transport. All right, put another clap there. So at this point, I mean, you can really get creative by just drawing in anywhere. You know, we give you options for changing the velocity. You can automate these things for every note, for every lane. You can also repeat certain steps. So for instance, in the clap lane, we'll repeat this. All right. Let's see, over here, repeat this. Another cool option with the pattern editor is that you can, let me stop this, is that you can actually change the number of steps per lane. So for instance, this clap lane, let's change this guy. Instead of 32 steps, let's do 29. All right, so what this is going to do, I have 3 less steps than everything else in the sequence. So when it loops around, it's going to give it a little randomization there.
Right, so they're not going to fall on the same
Right, they're not going to
places.
fall in the same spot every time that it loops around. You can also change the resolution of each step. So now I have a smaller resolution on that particular lane. Many, many options. Another cool feature about the pattern editor is that you can have variations. So you can create a new empty pattern, or you can take a pattern that you have already, duplicate it, and then change maybe a couple of the notes. Maybe I want to take these out. All right, and so now I have variations. So I have this guy, and I have this guy. So what do I do with that? In my arranger, I can now duplicate this pattern, which is exactly the same, all right? And so what I have selected here is variation 3. But maybe on this guy, I want variation 1. So now I can start building my arrangement with different variations of patterns that I've built in the pattern editor.
So that's amazing because you can see in just a couple of seconds you can like, I mean, it's pretty much like the sky's the limit.
Yeah, definitely. With the new options in Impact XT and the pattern editor, very powerful creative tools for you.
All right, so next we're going to hear from 2 of my favorite PreSonus artists, Catfire and Heavy Grinder.
Yeah.
They're producer, DJ, husband and wife team that are based out of Los Angeles, California. Longtime Studio One supporters and PreSonus friends. So let's check them out.
My name is JJ, also known as Catfire, and also one of the members of Heavy Grinder. I am a producer, DJ, and audio engineer based out of Los Angeles. I'm in Baton Rouge at PreSonus headquarters, and I'm checking out the new version of Studio One, Studio One 4. I've been a Studio One user since 2012, and the change was immediate because just the workflow alone made me change from what I was using previously, and I haven't looked back, and there's really nothing out there on the market that compares to it. I like to believe that my workflow is fast, and it kind of has to be because ideas just popping it out of my head, so I have to be very quick. Studio One enables me to do that in a way that no other DAW does.
I just wanna kiss you. I don't want to miss you. I just wanna kiss you.
PreSonus definitely listens to their user base, and that shows in Studio One 4 because pretty much all of the new features or workflow improvements have been requested. They've been implemented in an excellent way. I'm very excited about the new Impact XT, the new Sample One XT, and also the pattern-based sequencer that's included with Studio One 4. Between those, it opens a lot of possibilities to improve my workflow and also to improve the workflow of a lot of users out there. The new version of Impact XT includes 8 pad banks, which expands the number of available pads from 16 to 128. That opens a lot of possibilities, especially with other 2 features that I like, which is the time stretching, so whatever tempo your song is at, the samples will follow that, and also the trigger quantization, which means that you can just play one-shots and loops at the same time and they'll sync up. So you can play a whole song with just one instance of Impact XT. Sample One XT gives you the ability to record from any given source in Studio One. That includes any inputs, any virtual instruments, or any tracks or buses that you have in your song. Much like Impact XT, Sample One XT also includes time stretching, so whichever tempo you decide to say your song to, your samples will follow. So nothing will break if you decide to change from 110 to 120 BPM in the middle of a production. For anyone out there who might be interested in checking out Studio One, and maybe it's your first time, it's super easy to use. You'll be up and running really quickly. I know I did. It was like 2 hours. If you're curious, you can always download my demo song available with Studio One 4. You can dig around and break it down, see how I do what I do, and hopefully learn something from it.
All right, guys, we're back. So Catfire also, aside from being just a freaking cool guy, is also featured on one of our new demo songs in Studio One version 4. So make sure you check out that demo song and check out what he's doing production-wise.
Definitely.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, we're going to be posting another much longer video and much more detailed video of him explaining some of the new features with Impact XT, Sample One XT, and all kinds of new features. So speaking of Sample One XT, why don't you show us a little bit about some of the new features?
Sure. All right, so let's take a look at Sample One XT. So here's the new Sample One XT, blue, but of course, like Impact XT, you can change the colors.
Nice.
So Sample One XT gives you, we expanded upon it, we give you a lot of new options in terms of being able to record in sampling. It'll actually make slices as you record in using the gate record option there. We give you envelopes, so graphical envelopes that you can draw in different things according to the pitch, filter, and the amp, and the LFO options we give you. Also mapping capabilities there. So one of the cool features about Sample One XT is that you can actually, there's an auto slice feature in it when you drag in certain loops. Well, any loop really. So for instance, here's a loop here. Now if I were to drag this over, it's just going to add it. But once I hold the modifier shift, now it's going to add the sample, but it's also going to chop it up and slice it.
Oh, sweet.
And then that's also going to map to different keys in Sample One XT. So now in my mapping view, you see all the different slices here. They're assigned automatically to MIDI notes that you can play on your MIDI keyboard.
So that's just drag and drop, and you hold down shift.
Correct.
Awesome.
Correct. And so with that, you can replay samples, that sort of thing. You can remap things. You can manipulate things differently in the loop that you have. A ton of creative options. And this, you can do this with any audio file. It's not just audio loops or music loops. It can be any audio file that you have on your computer. You can do this with. Another option in Sample One XT, and let's just reveal this guy here, is we gave you effects. So just like Presence XT has different effects, delays and reverbs and modulations, that sort of thing, we gave you that in Sample One XT as well. So here is, and we're going to enable the new loop option here, put it on sustain. All right, so you have your loop point there, and I'm just going to play it. All right, and so just to go through some of the, here's some modulation effects. So there's a phaser, flanger, chorus. You have delays. There's even a gator, just like in Impact XT. So a lot of new creative options there. Just like Impact XT, you also have the option to reverse. So now you can reverse. You have some reverse options where you can have it ping pong, so it'll go back and forth just play the sample over and over back and forth. So
That's awesome.
so lots of new creative options available for you in Sample One XT, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. We gave you tons of new filter options there as well. You can automate those. You can, use the LFO to manipulate those. Lots of, creative tools for sound design there.
Killer. Awesome. All right, guys. So next we're going to hear from another longtime friend of Personas. It's Johnny Geib. So he's with Home Studio Trainer. I'm sure a lot of you guys that are, follow our online community have heard of Johnny and probably have been helped out by him because he's one of the most helpful and knowledgeable guys.
Definitely.
That's part of our community. And then after that, we're going to hear from Blake Smith. So check this out.
My name is Johnny Geib, and I run and operate HomeStudioTrainer.com. The biggest thing about Studio One, especially the new version 4, is it completely takes the technology out of your way. It lets you be a musician. It lets you be a songwriter. It lets you be a producer, producing and helping other people mix their music. As a drummer and a drum sound kind of producer, I'm really looking forward to the Impact XT improvements. A lot more ability for drummers to actually hook up a V-drum kit and be able to trigger things naturally with hi-hat, open and close hi-hat, cancellation, a whole bunch of new features in Impact XT, not to mention being able to just use more than 16 pads. You can edit more. You can send tracks from a track directly into Impact to an Impact pad, which is cool. So if you're sampling a snare drum, you can sample it at different levels, cut it into pieces, highlight the pieces, and say send it to a new Impact, and it'll open up and it'll assign all of the sounds to the pads for you. So it takes seconds to sample a whole drum kit and actually have it populate the pads. There's also Sample One XT, which is really big for a lot of the users that use the MPC, because you can really edit up a sample, and like Impact, you can right click on any track that you have, any event, and you can send it to a new Sample One for further editing. You've got keyboard splits in there now. You've got all sorts of effect editing that you can actually put into Sample One. I think that the MPC people are going to look at Impact XT and Sample One XT, and they're really going to say, wow, I don't need my MPC anymore. I think some of the biggest improvements, I think that a lot of people that are using other DAWs that use a lot of VST plugins and instruments, I think they're going to like a lot of the new MIDI options, especially the drum editor that is now finally in Studio One, to where you have the ability to edit your MIDI drums, to be able to drag in those MIDI loops and then open up the drum editor and edit them like drum hits instead of like piano hits. So you can really see every edit. You can group highlight. You can edit everything from your velocity to your note length and whether you want the note to cut off or not. So it's for drum editors, it's huge. Being a drummer myself and doing MIDI production on drums and drum tracks for clients and stuff, that's one of the best MIDI features that I've seen so far. I think that some of the new features like the chord track and all of the features associated with that is huge for songwriters, because now you have the ability to bring in a song, figure out what key they're in, or if you can isolate a guitar track, you can literally have the chord track detect what's being played in the track. So now you can just bring in a song, detect all the chording and stuff, and be able to build your own track from scratch. Being able to import AAF files moves Studio One, I think, into the next level, because it gives you all of the quality and post-production options. It sets up everything from wherever you're coming from, which is nice. There's no thinking involved. And for people that are doing multiple projects and stuff, it's going to be a huge decision maker for those that are trying to go from one DAW into Studio One, because now you can work with clients with other DAWs seamlessly and not have to worry about setup time, and being able to export those files and send it to those people. Some people have the stigma of using a particular DAW. That stigma's gone now because now you can send them what they need and they don't even have to work at bringing it into their project. Go to Facebook, join the HST Studio One support group. There is also an HST songwriting group for Studio One users. And then there's the main website, www.homestudiotrainer.com. That's the mother site. Everything on that site is free, so feel free to sign up and become a member. There is over 400 Studio One videos, even all the way back to Studio One version 2. If you're still using version 2 and you're still looking for instruction, you can find them there.
Hey, hi, I'm Blake. I'm a music composer, I'm a professional trainer, a sound designer, and a YouTuber. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. Since 2016, I regroup all these activities under Driven Sounds, the company I founded to work on all these activities at the same time. Driven Sounds works with the top-of-the-line music company to provide them music production, sound content, beta testing, workshop, masterclass, and even professional mixing. Here at Driven Sounds, we provide the best sounds you can get for your needs and pay attention to every details for you to be satisfied. And we do that in Studio One. What I love the most about Studio One is how easy it is to work with. You want an audio track from a MIDI track? Boom, drag and drop, you have it. You want a bus channel? Right click, bam, it's here. You can combine VSTs. You have Melodyne directly integrated in it. The effects and sounds are really amazing, and mostly the Pro EQ. I really love the Pro EQ. It's really professional EQ, like the name, you know. And yeah, no headache. It's all there, easy. With Studio One 4, PreSonus takes it to the next level. I know you heard that a lot, but in this case, it's really true. One of the features I love the most is the chord track. Basically, the chord track lets you manipulate and modify any chords from any source you want. MIDI and audio. Well, nothing is better than a demo, right? So let's see how we can do that. So here we have one bar loop chords. So the thing is, to open the chord track, you have to click on this icon right here. Okay, so we have the chords, follow on. Then we have to click on the event, and here you have to put the follow chord on either of these three things. I would just put that in parallel right now. Okay, and you have to double click right here. So when you double click here, it will activate the chord selector. And if you double click again, we have the chord selector. So the chord selector is like the God of the key right here, the God of the chord. Okay, so we in C. That's convenient right here. So we in C, so we put the C right here. So that's the key of the song. Okay, if I double click, and if I change, if I click here, let's see what happened. So yeah, it transpose, it modify, it manipulate the chords with and keep my style when I play. So that's actually the really great thing about the chord selector. Now I have an audio file. We will do the same thing. So we will activate. We click on that. Here we will activate the chord. So we can put in. I will put universal for the audio because this is a audio thing. And I will right click right now and go to audio and just click detect chords. It has detected the chord right here. I see that it says it's in F sharp 6. So first thing I have to do is go to F sharp. What we can do now is like do the same thing right here. So you can duplicate that. And now with the audio, what we can do, so if I put sharp right here, I can, okay? And I can change right here. I could put A6, I can put D6, and I could put DB6 right here. So let's check, and let's check that and see what happened. Here, there you have it. You can make chords progression from an audio track and from a MIDI track, just like that. Now I can work my sound design, my sample packs, my presets really fast and easy now with Studio One. And really thanks Studio One, really thank you for that. Really thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, so that's a wrap, and that's it. But actually, that's not even close to being it. So you've just seen a few of the key features in Studio One version 4. There are tons of new things that we've added. And of course, you need to go to our website, presonus.com, check out all of the new features. If you're not a member of our YouTube channel, please subscribe because we're going to be pumping out full tutorial videos on all of the new features. Also, I want to just take a second to thank a couple of people, most notably our team in Hamburg. These guys have been working tirelessly, just making Studio One what it is, and they continue to amaze me and just really our staff in Baton Rouge, and we have staff all over the world. I want to thank those guys. Also want to thank our user community. And those of you that are Studio One users, we really appreciate you because guess what? This whole thing doesn't happen without you. You've been a huge influence on this version. And, if you're just getting into Studio One or wanting to know more about it, obviously, our website is a great place. But also, for those of you that don't know about answers.presonus.com, this is where you, the Presonus customer, can vote and basically come up with feature requests, and you guys can vote on them. And you'll notice that a lot of the top voted features over the last year or so have gone into Studio One version 4. And guess what? This is just the beginning because, like every version of Studio One, we continue to make it better and better. Our dot kind of updates are not just bug fixes, which of course we fix bugs, but they're new features. So you've just seen basically the beginning of what Studio One version 4 is going to be about. So just to let you know, it's available right now. So go to your favorite Presonus dealer worldwide, and also shop.presonus.com. It's available there too. We really want to thank you guys for tuning in, and stay tuned. We've got a couple more videos that we're going to play that were created using Studio One version 4. Check it out, and thanks a lot for watching.
My name is Adam Nitty. I'm a bass player and composer based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and excited to be here at the Presonus headquarters to check things out and do some recording work and video work. The song that we're going to be recording here is, right now the working title is The Truth Seeker. When I'm writing an instrumental song, just like if it had lyrics that told a story, the instrumental side of it is still telling a story. At least that's my intention. Well, with this one, the reason the working title is Truth Seeker, it's just born out of this idea that we're living in a time where there's so much information and opinions and facts and conflict that are flying all around the world, and so it can be a huge challenge trying to extract truth from all these things, or at the very least what the truth is about what you think about something, or how passionate, or what your belief may be on a certain topic, whatever that may be. When you hear it, hopefully you will hear there's almost a vibe of desperate frustration behind it. It's a more aggressive sounding song. It definitely has more of a rock type edge to it, with loud guitars and solos and things like that. So it's about, the spirit is all about one's determination to finally figure out what's the truth in all this, or what's real in all this, and that's kind of where it comes from. This tune was born from its inception in Studio One, and so I utilized loops that were a part of the Studio One library, and putting the song together that will actually be part of the final mix. So it'll be a fantastic demonstration of how all these tools and creative inspiration all come together in this one little software recording program. So we're looking forward to it.
My name's Scott Bernard. I'm from Nashville. Originally from Louisiana. When I moved to Nashville, everybody has a studio in their house there, you know. And Pro Tools is the whole, at the time it was like total industry standard. You know, everybody had a Pro Tools rig. And a few years ago, I just started, getting an itch to move, you know, from Pro Tools. And since I've started using Studio One, I'm really floored by how intuitive it is. For someone who's like me, I'm a guitarist. I'm not an engineer. At home, I do tracks, remote sessions for people. Right? I've said this before, where in my experiences, other DAWs kind of present you with a new version, and it's like, this is what that company tells you you need, or it's cool. And it feels like with personas, it's like they hear you and they actually come out with stuff that, I want that. That's exactly what I've been thinking about, kind of thing, you know. And so that's what I dig, that certain little things, intuitive things that Personas does, just makes creativity just quick. I was kind of, you know, when I jumped ship, you know, I was like, man, I don't know, I'm a little nervous to do it. And so I decided to open up Studio One. I'm gonna write a song and create a track for it. See if I can, just to see if I can do it, not for, and I mean within, you know, that day I had a new song written, and I had tracked it all, and it was just so quick. I was thinking it would be a long process of, wait a minute, how do I do this again? I mean, the drag and drop stuff is so intuitive to me. You know what I mean? So yeah, I love it. I'm really digging it.
さない少しずつ I just wanna kiss you 届かない君に見せたいよ心の奥の無邪気さに怯えてる涙が出そうなほどに愛してもあなたの指先に触れられないけれどトゥゲッドな大切な伝えたいよ話せない少しずつ I don't want to miss you トゥゲッドな大切な伝えたいよ話さない少しずつ I just wanna kiss you